Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing a really fun and exciting video that I actually haven't done in quite a while. I figured it's about time. It's gonna be my May TBR and I'm not gonna do any methods or any sort of game to decide what I'm gonna read because I am just super in a mood reading mood, I guess. So I don't really want to have to think about it too deeply. I'm just going to go over all of the books that I'm planning to read this month based on what I'm in the mood for and some other things that I will get into. Without further ado, we'll just keep this intro really short and hop right into the video. First, I'm going to talk about the books that I'm actually currently reading, and when I'm filming this, it's already a little bit into May, so I think maybe like 4 or 5 days into May. These books are definitely going to be finished in May, but I did start them, at least the first one I started in April, and that is The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. I read Magnolia Parks, which is the first book in the Magnolia Park series. I didn't read any of the other books in the series, just the first one, and I enjoyed it. I definitely think that you have to be in the mood for that kind of story, so it's not one that I would pull any day of the week, but I did enjoy it. I think I ended up giving it like 4 stars. I also did go out and buy Never when it came out by her. However, there was a lot of negative opinions about that book, which kind of turned me off from it. So I'm actually planning to unhaul that book just because I don't think I'm going to be interested in the story, just honestly. So I was a little bit nervous going into this. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it or if I was gonna be interested in the topic, but I am quite literally eating this book up. I'm actually like pleasantly surprised with how much I'm loving this book. This might end up being one of my favorite books of the year. I find the story so unique. I find the writing so unique and compelling. I am just loving every second of it. This book follows our main character, Georgia, who lives in London, I think, but she comes back to Georgia because her father passes away. She's dealing with a lot of like trauma while she comes back. There's a lot of family dynamics, a lot of people from her past, and you really grow to understand a lot about why she is the way she is. And one of the things that is really, I guess, characteristic of her as a person is her ability to read people. The thing that she studies in school is psychology based, and so it's really interesting the way that she's able to pick up on cues from other people and kind of explore what their body language is saying. And I find that one of the most compelling aspects of the storytelling in this book. I am just loving every second of it. It's emotional, it's hard hitting. I feel like I've felt every single emotion while reading this book, and there's just something about the way that it's written that's so descriptive, that's so from the heart, that I'm just obsessed with. So anyways, I am almost done with this book. I think I have like 10% left of the book, so hopefully I'll actually finish this today or tomorrow, but I have a feeling this might be a 5-star book. I don't know, you'll have to wait and see if I do a wrap up or if I just mention it in any of my other videos, but I would 100%, from what I've read so far, which is about 90% of the book, I would 100% recommend this book. I'm pleasantly surprised by this, but this is going to be the first book that I finish in May. The second book is gonna be A Man Called Uve, which I think is how they pronounce it in the audiobook, but I'm honestly not really sure. This is by Frederick Bachman. I think this is kind of like the OG Frederick Bachman book that everyone talks about. This in Beartown, I think. I haven't read any Frederick Bachman, so I have been itching to pick this book in specific up for years now, but I've just never been in the mood for it. I've started to read it a few times and just haven't been able to get into it from the first couple of chapters, but the key that I found is the audiobook. So I actually started the audiobook yesterday and I have been really enjoying the audiobook, so I am hoping to finish that soon. I have it on Libby. I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a good time. This book is about Uve, who is a little bit of like an old man curmudgeon. Like he's very, likes things a certain way. He's very strict about his routines, and he's kind of a no-nonsense old guy. And he kind of becomes this, like, at first you're kind of like weary of him because he is such a curmudgeon, but he becomes this endearing figure and has this great story. So I am really beginning to love him as a character and to root for him, and I just have a feeling this is going to be a really emotional read. So I'm a little bit nervous, but I am enjoying this a lot so far. The next category of book on my TBR are books that I have started but barely. These ones I've actually gotten decently into. The next ones, I've read like a few pages of them, but I haven't actually like really started the book. So that's gonna be this category. The first one is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. This I think is gonna become like a modern classic. I don't know when it was written. Actually, let me look. I think it was written in 1995. Yeah, I don't know. It was written in 1995 originally, I believe. But this is a story about, I think it's like 50 women who live in this cage like underground. Actually, I don't even know if it's underground. I just know that they live in this cage. They're watched 24/7 by these guards, and our main character has been there pretty much her whole life. She doesn't remember anything before. So we're kind of just learning about, you know, their experience, and they don't really know why they're there. They're trying to figure it out, but there's no clues. It's really interesting to see how they interact with each other and the dynamics between the women, because they've never really interacted with any men, at least the main character hasn't. And so the other women, it's been so long since they've seen men or interacted with men, and I feel like this is a really interesting commentary on the way that women interact with women and women perceive men. So I'm really interested to continue reading this. Like I said, haven't gotten very far into it, but I'm very intrigued, and I definitely want to read this before the end of the month. So hopefully I will get this done. It's pretty short and sweet, but I have had this on my radar for a long time. My interest is piqued. Also on this list of books that I have started briefly, but have not gotten into really, is The Invisible Life of Addie Laroo. I feel like I've had this book on my TBR so many times in the past, and something about like the way that it's so beloved and popular kind of throws me off of it. I don't know why, but I just get so anxious to read books that are really popular and beloved. And I think it's because there's a lot of hype around them, and I just am worried that it's not going to live up to it or whatever. I feel a lot of pressure to read them. So it's almost like I don't know, it's almost like all the pressure makes me not want to read it. But anyways, I did start reading this briefly. I'm only a few chapters into it, but I'm actually really enjoying it. This is about our main character, Adeline, who has this curse where nobody ever remembers who she is. And so you're kind of watching her throughout different timelines in her life and how she interacts with other people and how they never remember who she is. And she's kind of struggling to deal with that, but it's really interesting. That's really all I know about it. I don't know anything else, but I'm intrigued from the beginning. I like that the chapters are pretty short and sweet. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this month. I'm hoping that it's as good as everyone says, but I don't doubt that it is, because a lot of the books that are more like literary fiction type of vibes end up being really good, the ones that are popular. It's more the romantasy ones that are really popular that I tend to question a little bit more. Okay, so the next one in this category is Sunrise on the Reaping. As you can see, I have a bookmark in this one as well. I'm only a few chapters into this. I think I'm literally on page like 20 or 30, but I obviously want to read this because there's so much hype around this book and the Hunger Games and everything right now, and I want to kind of feed off of that energy and push through and read this book. Also, I've heard some people say that this is like the best book out of all of the Hunger Games, which is kind of crazy to say. So I am really intrigued. I did reread the Hunger Games series, not last December, but the December before. So I read it not too long ago, and I still haven't read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So I need to read that as well. But I don't think you need to read that to read this. So I'm gonna read this first. I'm really intrigued. I love Haymitch as a character. I know that they're coming out with a film in 2026. Based on this book, so I just am excited to be re-immersed into the Hunger Games. Like I said, this is Haymitch's story. We're following, I think it's the 50th Hunger Games, which is a quarter quell. We're kind of figuring out more about his story. We got a little bit of insight into what happened in his Hunger Games in Catching Fire, and like I said, Haymitch has always been one of my favorite characters in the Hunger Games, so I'm just really excited to learn more about him, because I just know that there's so much more to him before he enters the scene. And you know, he has this like drunken persona in the Hunger Games. He's still endearing, but he has this like dark side, and so I'm really interested to see how he got there, who he was before, and just to feel, you know, closer to him as a character. So this is next. My battery is about to die, so give me a second to change that out. Okay, now that that is changed out and we are good to go, I'm gonna move on to the last book that is in this category of books that I have barely started and haven't gotten far into, but I'm gonna be reading in May. And that book is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I am so intrigued by this book. My best friend is obsessed with this book. She loves it. It's like her favorite book of all time. And so I obviously have to read this. I think I would read it anyway, just because it's one of those like classics that I feel like everyone should read at some point in their life. I'm about 12 pages into this book, and I have already been underlining like so many things. I just find the way that these classics are written to be very poetic. They have a lot of like profound messages like hidden in the text, which I just love. I love kind of really thinking about what it's saying. This is definitely more of a brain exercise than a normal, romance or fantasy book. But I find that it really makes you think. It kind of appeals to the intellectual in you. And honestly, I haven't read anything that's kind of intellectual in a hot minute. And I am kind of worried that my brain rot levels are getting excessive. So I am mainly reading this because I'm interested in it, but also because I want to maintain a certain level of intellectualism in my lifetime. I just think it's healthy to read something outside of your comfort zone, read something that's challenging and that lots of people have read over time and that has spoken to many different generations of readers, and to kind of maintain that intellect throughout your life. So that's my goal with this one. I'm really looking forward to it. This one is about Dorian Gray, who is entranced by the perfection of his recently painted portrait. He basically expresses that he wishes that the painting, the person in the painting, which is him, it's his portrait, would age and, grow, and he wouldn't. And that wish comes true. And so he's kind of dealing with the after effects of that. That is all that I know about this book. I honestly, considering that this is such a well-known book, I honestly don't know much about it. When it comes to classics, I kind of find that going into them without preconceived ideas is actually better, because I feel like you can get a real original opinion of a book that has been, like I said, so beloved for generations. And I think there's something to be said about that, because if you're learning about a book that you've already had these preconceived ideas about based on what other people have said, and this can be true for not just classics, but books that we read today or that are popular today, I think it kind of hinders your reading experience because you already have a seed planted in your head about what you should think about. And so I'm excited to go into this with kind of no expectations and no real, knowledge of what is happening, because I think that's the best and surest way to develop your own opinion about it. I'm very excited for this. This cover is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. And another kind of shorter read, I think this one's gonna be short, but it might take me a little bit longer to read just because, like I said, it's definitely going to be more dense language and material. I'm excited to read this in May. And then I have Lost and Lassoed by Lassoed. These last two books are books that I just haven't started at all, and they're just books that I want to read for fun. We have Lost and Lassoed by Lassoed. This is the third book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series by Lassoed. The first two are Done and Dusted and Swift and Saddled. I just read Swift and Saddled recently and I really enjoyed it. I did not love Done and Dusted as much. It was enjoyable overall, but it just kind of lost me at the second half of it. So I was a little skeptical going into Swift and Saddled, but I really liked Swift and Saddled, and I just thought it was a really fun, good time, It was nothing serious, no brain power, it was just fun and entertaining. So I'm hoping that that's what this will be, a little bit of a lighter, lighthearted, fun read, and I just love the covers of this series. They are absolutely gorgeous. In this book, we're following the oldest brother and one of the younger sister's friends. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yes, we're kind of following a new couple in this family dynamic, and I just love it. I just love this small town. I think it's so fun. I love the locations. I love the way that we're kind of like on a pasture ranch setting, and it's just fun. It's fun and it's entertaining, and honestly, there's not much else that I can ask for from a fun little cowboy romance. So I'm excited to jump into this, and maybe even after in June, maybe I'll read the most recent one that just came out, Wild and Wrangled. So this is on my list. And last but not least, we have The Nighting Gale by Kristen Hanna. I have been wanting to read this book for so long, but it's really intimidating. It's very thick, and I've heard a lot of chatter about it. I've heard that it's really sad. I've heard people just like sob their eyes out at the end of it. And I am just a little bit nervous about that because I love sad books. I love sad stories, but also at the same time, when I'm in a good mood, I don't really want to like gravitate towards that. So I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous that this is going to be a little bit of a downer, but also I can appreciate a sad story if it's really impactful and meaningful. And I have a feeling that this is probably going to be a 5-star read. I'm really looking forward to this. As you guys know, I majored in history in college. You would think I would read more historical fiction, but I really don't. And I want to change that. So I think I'm really going to love this, not only because it's a great story, but because it deals with World War II. And obviously, World War II history. I find that era of time very fascinating, as many people do. I'm really excited to read this story. I think this this is about two sisters, and it kind of talks about, you know, women during World War II, which is definitely a theme that Kristen Hanna likes to explore. I read The Women, which is Kristen Hanna's one of her more recent books. I don't know if it's the most recent, but definitely more recent than this one, I believe. And that one talks about women in the Vietnam War, which was really interesting, and I really enjoyed that book. I thought it was super compelling and also really sad. But this one's about World War II and talks about the women's war through the story of two sisters who are separated, and they're kind of going on this journey of survival independently. This takes place in Vichy, France, I believe, which is German-occupied France. Yeah, I'm just excited to see what all the hype's about. I'm excited to read about women in World War II. I love historical fiction. I need to read more of it. So this is going to be my historical fiction pick for May, and I'm really looking forward to it. Also, almost forgot to mention that this is my book club book of the month with my best friend. We started a book club. It's literally just the two of us, but it's so fun. Last month we read Fearless by Lauren Roberts, and this month we're reading The Nighting Gale. So I am so excited to read this with her. It's gonna be so fun to have a buddy to, you know, talk about it with and deal with the emotions with. This is on my list as well, and I can't wait to dive into it. So this is my May TBR right here. We have The Conditions of Will by Jessica Hastings, A Man Called Uve by Frederick Bachman, I Who Have Never Known Ben by Jacqueline Hartman, The Invisible Life of Addie Laroo by V.E. Schwab, Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage, and The Nighting Gale by Kristen Hanna. I feel like we have a really good mix of genres this month. I'm really excited, and I'm really looking forward to diving into some of these books, even though the majority of them I've already started in one way or another. I just clearly have an issue with starting books and not finishing them, but in my defense, I've been in a little bit of a reading slump, and it's not one of the reading slumps that you get where it's like you don't want to read anything. It's one of the reading slumps you get where you don't know what genre you want to read, so you just jump into like 10 different books and none of it is sticking. That's been a little bit challenging, but I am excited to finally finish all of these books this month, and I hope you guys will stay and watch and follow along while I do so. And with that being said, that's the end of this TBR video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also, comment down below what you are going to be reading this month. Are you going to be reading any of the same books as me? If so, let me know, and I will talk to you guys very soon in my next video.